what we call the foundational conduct of police is actually based on what we call the theory of training. In many countries, especially in communist-related countries or in Eastern Europe, police are trained to suppress the population, or they are trained in some cases to do work that is essentially militaristic and so on. Many civilian countries, especially democracies like ours, we train our police for purposes of just law and order, preserving law and order and tracing or investigating crime. So I'm saying this because even when I was in the Ministry of Interior, I was invited several times to Parliament to address these issues like extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances and so on. And I kept telling, I would tell members of Parliament, and I would tell you today as Kenyans, and please, this is the fact of the matter. Our police and our security, our domestic security teams are not trained to suppress the population, or they are not trained to control, or as I said, brutalize the population. That is why our police system is civilian supervised, because the minister is a civilian, the president and the National Security Council in most cases is populated by civilians. Our security teams are civilian supervised. They're supervised by civilians, not trained security people as it were. And because of that, the police developed the elaborate document called standing orders. The police have got standing orders. And the standing orders basically is the code of conduct for the police. It is because everybody realizes that sometimes there may be individual police officers, and there have been cases where individual police officers have acted beyond the law or beyond their powers under the law. And that happens with every profession, because I mean we have a code of conduct for teachers. I was Minister for Education, and I know cases where teachers were dismissed and punished for having affairs with students and that kind of thing. Because of that, that is why I normally say we have to drill down on these issues in a very specific manner. And that's why we call for accountability. And in cases where investigations have been done and culpability has been established, police officers have been jailed, and some of them have been punished. In cases where some of them have even been charged with manslaughter or even murder in that case, or execution for that matter. That's why on this particular issue, if you ask me what's my take on it, I have been calling for accountability. Let there be accountability for what has happened. And by the way, no one should tell you that we cannot get to the person who actually shot that person. Because you see, these teams move in the command in small groups as platoons and so on, and they are assigned particular areas when they are given assignments in the morning. So we can actually, there are many other things. I don't want to look like I'm betraying my former colleagues, senior security officials, but there are ways in which it can be established. You can drill down to the actual officers who are involved in those particular acts, and they are brought to book. They are punished. And if we don't do that, then we will have a rogue, a rogue security system. The reason why we always insist on accountability is because that is how civilian supervision is going to restore and ensure dignity in the policing of the country, as it were. Let me give you an example. A number of times when I was minister, I had these experiences, and let me give you practical examples. A border rider was killed by some police officers somewhere in Marani or somewhere there. And then I was invited to, because the matter became, problematic, so we were invited to investigate the issue. I went there with the Inspector General of Police. There is a unit we used to call the Internal Affairs Unit. And we drilled down to a point of actually getting the people who were actually involved in that particular incident. So it's possible, it's very possible to drill down to the respective incidents and ensure this is done. What is my take on how Gen Z are expressing themselves? I don't know of what kind of country we want to have where people don't express themselves. I've given this example before, and please, if you don't mind, you can indulge me, I give this example. When I went to education, I used to insist in schools, when I'm going to schools, especially for Parents' Day meetings, that let us now listen to even the students. Because, you know, the general tradition of conducting affairs, you know, in schools is you have a Parents' Day meeting, and, you know, everybody, tunakula pilau, people stand up and go, you know. And the students don't say a thing. Yet, actually, we have gone there for students. Educators in the room, like Dr. Weja know, that listening to the voice of that is where inclusion begins and ends. So, I went to one school, and I told the principal, I want to listen to the students, give them a mic, let them also ask questions. And this girl asked a question, almost drove me to tears, when she looked me in the face and said, and this is a girl who was in Form 3 or Form 4, told me, you know, Minister, we work so hard in some of our schools. There are schools where people steal exams wantonly. And we know the basis upon which people are admitted to the Faculty of Law or to medicine and so on is on the basis of the grades they have. Now, those of us who are not able to steal exams are disadvantaged. What are you going to do to ensure that this does not happen? We were being called to account by our children, as it were. What is going on, honestly speaking, is something we can deal with less force, less arrogance, and so on, because there is nothing unusual or nothing extra that is being asked. What this is voice, the Kenyan population, they may be young, they are voicing themselves, they're saying this, they're voicing concerns and raising issues. Why don't you address those issues, as it were? And find answers. Where we don't have answers, we can confidently say we don't have the answers, or bring them on board. That's why I've been saying we must be as open as possible, because we chose democracy. Why did we choose democracy? We don't want to listen to each other. We chose democracy. That's where I think personally I have a problem. That we are not listening. Let's listen to the issues that are being raised. Some of the issues that are being raised by Gen Z are straightforward matters that you can see, like recruitment and so on. If you need 200,000 shillings or 300,000 shillings today to get that letter of employing a teacher, 300,000 or 200, where are these guys going to get that money? And this is what they're asking. They're asking for, you know, equity. They're asking for objectivity, meritocracy, and these straightforward issues. Why should we even debate them in the first place if we are serious people, you know, in our society? So my view is, and then that is a position I've held for a long time, is not just for this circumstance. Let us listen to one another. Let us listen to the younger part of our population. And I noted the other day in an interview that 70% of the Kenyan population, 70%, 7 out of 10 Kenyans you will meet are below the age of 35. So, the 30% are the ones now sitting on this 70%, as it were. And if we are serious people, honestly, and I believe we are, shouldn't we be spending our energy and time on this 70% of the population? And if we are serious about what we believe, and these are the people who should be investing more of our energy, because this is the way the country is going to be in the future. Some of us are facing the door. These ones are coming in. Isn't this the part of our population that we should be spending time? And when they ask the questions, we brutalize them, or we think it's not necessary for them to ask the questions. So my view is, and lastly on that particular matter, there are many things I will, when I release my manifesto, I'm going to point out, for example, a program that I would like to encourage Kenyan leaders to espouse. You guys are living in the US. You know something called the White House Fellows Program. The White House Fellows Program is one of the most famous programs that has trained leaders in this country. You know, young top interns who intern in White House, who end up becoming leaders who do great things. Of course, the most famous intern was Monica Lewinsky, for different reasons, for the wrong reasons. But you see, I would like, for example, I have been writing a program with my colleagues on my campaign team to develop a program like that in Kenya, if I had the opportunity myself to be president, and then replicate it 47 times in every county. Imagine how many young people you will bring into leadership through that. And then and then train them. Lastly, people forget one thing, by the way. The Matibas, the Kibakis, the Uhurus, who ended up becoming president, they started the experiment or the opportunity when they were 20-something years old. So why are we stopping them? Yeah, why are we stopping them? I mean, where are we going to get leaders from? Sasa tunakaa sisi tukae huko mpaka tukuishie huko, then what happens? Because we should now begin that process of trying those 20-something, bringing them, you know, and working on that program. So my vision, which I will publish in the document, is that one of replicating that White House Fellows program and replicating it for 7 times in every county, and then using it to begin a new process of training young leaders. And I swear to you, I will manage